All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joan Brzezinski, Director of the University of Minnesota China Center. It's my great pleasure to welcome you today to this webinar. In a minute, we'll enjoy a conversation with about the Pipa, Chinese music and culture, with renowned Pipa musician and artist Gao Hong. Thank you for supporting our webinar series. This and other series have been really quite rewarding to do. We thank you for your support of the China Center. Your generosity makes these programs possible. So we invite you to support our mission and to give to the China Center through the link on the webinar announcement or on our website. At the end of the program, we'll answer the questions that you submit through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. If you have technical difficulty or need help, please use the chat function, but we won't answer or respond to questions that are posted there. Today's program will be hosted by Ms. Qiuxia Welch. Ms. Welch is a member of the China Center team. Moreover, she's a professionally classically trained musician, and her instrument is the French horn. She has spent years bridging US and Chinese culture through music, and I look forward to her conversation with Maestro Gao Hong. I turn it over to Qiuxia. Welcome, Qiuxia.
Thank you. So I think before we start, welcome, and then we're going to show a little bit clip, and it will really tell the story of Professor Gao's musical career. So please.
Oops, sorry.
Hong began touring professionally as a musician at the age of 12. She started out and she tried a lot of the different instruments, chose the pipa because it was the most difficult. Ever since those young beginnings, she has been sharing her music. I think people and audiences connect with Hong and her music because for her it is so deeply personal. But I also think it has to do with the
There's no sound.
The parents with their children, I start crying because it's very difficult for me to left my family when at that young age, travel with the other people. So in this piece I'm doing is kind of like a mixed feeling of my life.
I think what Hong does is lead by example. She's reaching out to musicians of various cultures. She's played with musicians from Japan, from India, from Syria, and they speak to each other with their instruments and create whole new ideas for how music is in the world. I believe that it's her desire to broaden the scope, to honor and keep the traditional, as well as making it relevant in today's world, making it a language that speaks with many people, and also preserving the wonderful traditional pudong style, which is her specialty in Chinese people playing.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome. And it is really my privilege today to have this opportunity to sit down with Gao Hong, world-renowned pipa master, composer, and educator. So my name is Qiuxia Welch. I'm a program specialist at Minda Institute for Leadership Training at China Center. I'm also a musician. As a musician and a French horn player myself, I'm just really looking forward to our discussion about Chinese music in the US and the work Gao Hong have been doing in building the culture bridge through the universal language of music. Professor Gao Hong, welcome and thank you. And this is really exciting to talk about pipa because it's such an instrument itself, has a deep cross-cultural history. And pipa is not really originated from China. Actually, it was brought to China through Silk Road from Central Asia over a couple thousand years ago. So somehow it found its way to blend with local instruments and local sound, and became a very popular instrument in the beginning in the Chinese court. And today, it is really, I think it's really a pillar of Chinese classic music. So Professor Gao, we're so lucky to have you today actually with your pipa. And so could you please tell us a little bit about the pipa, like a 5-minute crash course of pipa, the instrument and the history for those of us who, for those of people who may not have experienced this instrument.
Thank you so much for having me. I know University of Minnesota, the China Center has been such an amazing support of Chinese music and the cultural, and build the bridge between Chinese culture and music and Chinese culture for the whole community in America. Thank you so much for being such an amazing support, especially the China Center, John and Haiyan and Qiuxia and everybody, and also many of community people in Minnesota has been supporting me so strongly, and I cannot to do anything without their support. So I want to thank everybody, especially today who tuned in from all over the place. I'm so glad during this pandemic, we still have this chance can share some music. So the Chinese pipa actually is about 2,000 years through, like Qiuxia said, it's through the Silk Road, the wood, and the earliest plucked instrument. Then later they divided went to Western world, became lute and guitar, went to East, and like a sitar and the pipa. So, but it's very different. People say, are they the same like a guitar? No, it's not. So I can show you guitar, when you play, you plug your string towards inside like this. You do it this way, but Chinese pipa is opposite way. And like I always say, Chinese people like to work very hard because that's unnatural. Think about it, you against the natural way to do. And also we do have a 5 fake nails to plastic to protect your finger, because in the old time, it's the string made of silk or guts, but now it's kind of a metal. So you have to have a fake nail plastic to protect your finger. And also we play out instead of in. So we have a 5 finger like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. So that's how you play the pipa. It's so different from the guitar, right? And also Chinese music, they always tell you stories. Example, I'm playing the moonlight over the spring river. Suddenly you have to imitate the sound like a flowing water. Or you can suddenly making sounds like the bubbly water. Behind the boat, like the Dragon Ball. So it sounds like this, bubbly. Or you can imitate the sound like a blow wind. Very cold, especially for Minnesota in the winter. Or you can imitate the Chinese pipa with the gong, dai, 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 the drum, dong, 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 the simple cha, cha, cha. Sounds together like a Chinese percussion band. Dai, 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 dai. see, you can hear that, like everybody can recognize that that's Chinese music, or you even can make it like a geese, wild geese. I'm very lucky to live next to a little pond and or lake. Every day you have so many geese. So we can imitate the sound, but not exactly like the geese, but we try like this. So that's per turn, right? Or we can make sounds like many horse trotting. At the same time, play the music. So listen carefully. Sometimes you draw to the melody rather than the actual trotting, horse trotting. Did you hear the fast trotting? Or it's like a tick-a-tack, tick-a-tack. So, or guess what? I can even imitate the people talking. 你好吗？很高兴见到你。很高兴见到你。Do you hear the Mandarin? Or I can hear people laughing. Ha 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 ha. So you see, it's oh, how the Chinese people can do so much, and also our structure very different too. You see, that look like a half pear shape. So that's called 梨形状. So, and also look like a big tear. So when I go to a lot of K to 12 school to promote Chinese people, I would, especially around the lunchtime, I said, please don't eat my pipa because they look like a drumstick. So I said, please don't eat. So do you have other questions regarding? So we have Chinese people can play choral music, folk music, and opera, accompany, classical music, you can name it. So since I came to America, I play with blues, jazz, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Irish, Jewish, India. Then we have Syrian, Iran, Brazil, whatever. So
that's fantastic. I think what that, the pipa is so cool. It kind of embodies all those things. You talked about lute and oud, or banjo and a guitar. And when I was a young student in China and I have friends who study pipa, I always thought that pipa is such a powerful instrument because you work the fake nails and it's such a percussive instrument. And by the same time, it's so soft and so melodic. I always thought it was so cool that the technique you use all 5 fingers. And for a percussive instrument, it's difficult to make long melodies and long phrases. And because of that technique, and pipa is it can do that. So it can be strong and powerful, but also so melodic. It play those beautiful melodies. Well, that's such a treat for us to have you perform live for us. And I know that you have performed with, before we kind of get into your performances and your career, I would like to jump to, because you wear so many hats. You're a performer, you're a composer, you're also educator. So I would like to talk about Gao Hong, the educator. I know that you currently direct a Chinese music ensemble and global music chamber ensemble and teach Chinese musical instruments. You're busy at Carleton College. So, and myself, I studied Western instrument, French horn. So in my experience, I learned that to really master an instrument that is from different traditions, a different sound, a different tonal system, that you really has to have a good understanding of its culture. And I believe also a big part of teaching music is also about teaching cultures. So can you talk about your experience teaching Chinese music in the US to your, not only maybe some Chinese students and some American students who did not grow up with the sound, the instrument, and your experience, and also what do you wish your students to gain from their time with you, their learning the instrument?
Thank you so much. And for me, I don't know if many people probably don't know my story. All my life, I want to be a teacher. And even I was age 12, became a professional musician because that I didn't want to be a performer, but the life pushed me become performer. Now, actually, all my dream want to be teaching. So in America, when the people don't know what the Pipa was, and I was very difficult. So I was thinking it would be better start with the young generation. Thank God to the Carleton College, which means I've been here this year will be my 20th years at Carleton College. I have so many unbelievable, wonderful students, Chinese, non-Chinese, from all of the different cultural background. And I think for me to speak from what they think it probably is not accurate to do. Actually, I have one of the best students for me for many years teaching, and his name is called Gao Hong, and now he's on the screen. And he actually started learning from me at age 13 when he lived in Moorhead. So his parents took one of my concerts, say, I want my son to study from you. I say, oh, I live in Northfield. There's no chance you will be from Moorhead. No, I was wrong. Their parents, unbelievable support. So before he came to Carleton, it was 5 years, was non-stop drive 5 hours to Northfield, stay overnight, and go back for 5 years before he came to Carleton. Then he started with Zhongran. He won 2 gold medals for a competition for Zhongran. And after he came to Carleton, and he became amazing with the Pipa. So he started Pipa about only 1 year and a half. He won the gold medal in China, competing with 1,300 Chinese Pipa players in Beijing. So he became the only one, the first one ever to win the gold medal with non-Chinese. So here's the Gus. I think her question, I think you probably will be answered much better than what I answer from you. Here's Gus.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Gus. Thank you so much. And I know you have a class a little bit later, but we're so happy to have you. And to talk to us about studying Pipa and for 5 years and driving and your experience, and also taking Pipa to China. I know that you've done some competitions in China, performances in China, and to tell us your experience.
Okay, well, thanks so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here. And I think you can tell from that story how much of an amazing teacher Gao is, how great she is that I can accomplish this by studying with her. I think part of it, I originally started Chinese music because I happened to see someone playing pipa, and I was just so amazed. I'd never seen anything like that before, and I just couldn't go on without learning more about pipa and Chinese music. So ever since then, my process in learning pipa and zhongran has always been guided by my own interest. And the more you learn in Chinese music, the more there is to learn. It's so deep and so nuanced and rich with the history and the cultural background. And so it's been kind of led by, I always want to learn more. And Gao is so supportive, and she has so much expertise about so many different aspects of Chinese music. So sort of been guiding my interest and allowing me to learn more and more parts of Chinese music. I think it's not actually maybe so difficult to approach Chinese music as someone who doesn't have any Chinese background, because at least in the classical pipa music, it's always telling a story, like Gao said, either about some human emotions or about nature or about war or something that we all can understand. and so I think approaching that music in a really human way allows you to sort of understand it and break through that cultural barrier. And then through doing that, you can understand more about Chinese culture and give you more background.
Yeah. That's really cool. You know, I studied French horn when I was in China very young, and brass instruments was kind of really new thing. And it's so opposite from your experience that you heard Pipa, you love it. I had an opposite experience. My music teacher came to my apartment with the case say, "This is your instrument." So then, you know, I had to kind of learn how to love it and learn, but the experience is the same. And the more you learn, you study and read. But I'm curious for you to talk about kind of not only learning the technique of mastering Pipa, and also just learn its history, the culture, to really understand the instrument. And as I'm sure you have to read, you know, Chinese and be with Chinese people, really understand.
Yeah, I think I've done a lot of reading over the years, you know, that's been part of my sort of process. And so that understanding sort of the history of where pipa comes from, how it was used in the past and how it's kind of used now, but also, you know, being at Carleton with Gao Laoshi, being in the Chinese music ensemble, going with her to so many performances. Going to China. We spent a month in China 2 summers ago. And just kind of living that experience of being in the Chinese music ensemble and being in these areas where there's a lot of Chinese musicians speaking Chinese, seeing what they're playing. I feel like that helped me a lot, sort of get into it in a more natural way and sort of just understand it by doing it. So I think that was really important.
That's fantastic, because I know that you speak Chinese fluently as well. So I was doing some research, and then so you're like, your Chinese is fantastic. I am sure that learning experience, the learning the language, learning the music, learning the culture, they're all just blend together.
Yes, yeah, really. I think it helps so much, especially with this kind of classical music that has such a long history and it's related to history and literature and historical events and like ways of you describing nature and things like that in Chinese poetry, those kind of things. It's really important to have that like language understanding, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the most well-known pieces was called 十面埋伏. And, you know, like depicting the war. I'm sure you will have to learn about that history to really perform it well.
Yes, and
wonderful.
In that piece, you know, each section is describing exactly something that's happening in the battle. So you can hear the horns and you can hear the horses galloping and turning and neighing and the people screaming and all these things. So you have to kind of understand what's happening and understand first the language to understand what's being said, and then understand the context for how that's going. So.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time today.
Thank you so much.
Be with us, and what a proud teacher and a proud student. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you'll be back sometime when we can talk more about Chinese music. And
yeah, I would love to.
Right now he's in UC Berkeley for his PhD. So he's on the way to promote Chinese music. I have no doubt of that.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Professor Gao, and I know that you came to US early, you know, 1994. It's kind of a beginning of China opening up. But at that time, you were already a very well-known Pipa performer, and you had a very successful career in China already. I mean, you could have stayed in China, you know, continue your performance and education. And so what motivated you to bring Pipa and Chinese music to the United States and to Minnesota?
So actually, it's a wonderful story. So I came to America in 1994 for a tour. I went to New York City, Pittsburgh, Denver, Cleveland, and Albany, you know, and St. Paul, Minneapolis. Of course, I had a solo tour. So on the road at Denver, the museum announced on the radio, said, please come to see the Chinese woman play the pipa tonight. 5 minutes later, somebody called to the presenter, said, how could this Chinese woman play the pipa, which means vegetable? That really changed my life. I came from Japan. I would study Japanese biwa and the Chinese pipa comparison. At that time, I was in tears. I said, "Hey, Chinese pipa is 2,000 years of beautiful traditional classical, whatever you want to say, beautiful lute and beautiful." Nobody knew what pipa was. At that time, I said, "You know what? I'm not going to back to China or to Japan. I want to stay America. Hopefully, I can start with the young generation, send it to more music too." That's the reason I stayed, and that's the reason I came to America to. I think that's my duty at that time. I never thought of that, but because I'm so much in love with the Chinese music and the people, I just cannot to do it.
Oh, yeah, you came with the mission. And that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Well, how lucky we are here to have you. And I was just thinking, you study in China, in Chinese music, you particularly Pipa in the beginning, the introduction talked about you study this Pudong style. The different regions have different styles of playing and interpretation and techniques. And so I'm so curious to see how this journey of you to really carry on that tradition, like preserve that tradition, but at the same time in the US, trying to innovate, trying to work, collaborate with people throughout the world. So what is this journey, and how do you come to say, oh, this is what I want to do, I need to do?
Thank you, thank you. I think, as I always say, time always kind of you have your mission be there. So when I play Chinese pipa at that time, not many people know because the especially Pudong style is like a storytelling. So when I play traditional, I wanted to be a peer. So I was lucky to I was lucky the few students ever learn the traditional pipa in person with my teacher, Lin Shicheng, who is the most famous pipa player, and people call him the Ravo Shankar of the pipa. So I just wanted to quickly imagine I was the only student besides his son, became the only student traveled tour performance with the teacher and the 师生音乐会, which means teacher and student concert in concert hall in America. Also, I'm the only student that have a duet CD release. So the release in 1996, my teacher came, he wanted to promote the Pudong style. We had the CD. During the COVID, I was cleaning up my basement. Suddenly, I found this 1996 with my teacher played the pipa. I played the zhongruan duet, Moonlight over the Spring River. Unbelievable. This kind of version is no one have ever done. So right away, the ARC music label in UK, we need a re-release. So next month at the September 25th, we'll re-release my teacher and our Counting Eagle Chasing Swan Pudong style music. Then I said, if I only play traditional music, I worry no one will come to, hey, I'm going to hear Chinese music if they're not knowing about it. So I realized I needed to reach out. So that's the time I started to collaborate with the Indian musician, blues, jazz, whatever it is. So at that time, I was thinking, just trying to grab them to know people. But later I realized if they saw you, I play with the symphony orchestra, oh my gosh, the people so much like a guitar. Oh, I have to go see what really is. So I'm actually kind of like take them in, then to explore the traditional. At the same time, I collaborate with them. It's like a language, an international language. So let everybody understand through the music, bridge, the cultural bridge, trying to build that. And at the same time, then they will more deeply understand how the Chinese people, the flexible, the quality, the techniques, everything. So that's my approach is to bring in, send out.
Yes, you think about United States is such a diverse country, and then people come from different cultures, and then they bring a different background. They bring not only their stories, they bring their language, they bring their music, they bring their food. And then we kind of, we used to say this, it's a melting pot, right? So that makes it so colorful and so wonderful. Then we take our traditions and what we learn really well, thousands of years of tradition, in this case with Pipa, and then we work with others and create this new sound and new style.
Yes.
So, and you travel back and forth to China as well, and in the US and Europe, everywhere. And I'm curious, when you go back to China, so, you have this, you came from this such a traditional school of playing of Pipa. Then you went to United States and you found the whole big world with different sound and different instruments. So you blend with them. And then when you take that back to China, I'm curious to hear what the reactions and are people as excited as here we are about this kind of a blending of sounds?
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful question. And when I went back to China to do anything, they were just surprised because I'm doing a lot of lecture at the Central Conservatory, China Conservatory, Tianjin Conservatory, and the Shanghai Conservatory. All these top-notch traditional Chinese musicians in the unbelievable conservatory, but we never learned how to do improvisation. So here what I wonder, I said, hey, if you don't understand how I do it, let's try it. So I will let them do in 1 hour know how to improv. So they said, no, I can't do it. I said, yes, you can. So in 1 hour, they suddenly realized they could. They were just so happy because I said, there's nothing you cannot do it. Only you cannot think about it. So then, especially in the Shanghai Conservatory last December, they were so shocked. I said, let's try. I will give them a very basic improvisation line. Then they start. Suddenly, the professor, Zhang Yoming, and all the very famous people, then they start grabbing their students' instrument. They start improv because in their life, that's the first time. So it's very, very surprise for them. But for me, I think that's really, really express yourself with your feelings. You improv with your heart rather than I'm reading the note, I'm playing somebody else's idea. But when I improv to play the music, I play my idea. So I have to use my music to describe my feelings. I think it's absolutely everybody in this audience. If you say, I can't do it, I promise you, you can do it. You will do an amazing job. So don't need to ever worry about it. Yes, you can do it.
Because I grew up in the musical tradition, also reading what's on the page, don't play the wrong notes and all that. So it's in order to improv, and you really have to let go.
Yes.
And then you also have to listen.
Yes.
And you really have to listen to others.
Yes.
So that is really important. So I know that you have played and collaborated with the people all over the world. I mean, you've performed with orchestras, chamber groups, worked with people from very diverse backgrounds. And I think the most recently, you've been working with Issam Rafia, an award-winning oud player from Syria. And in 2018, you two released your first CD together named Life as Is, the blending of ancient souls from Syria and China. So just like we were talking about it, what was unique about your performances in this project was the fact that it was all improvised. So it makes each experience very unique, not only for your audience and also for yourself as well as performers. So I know oud and Pipa has some, they're very similar in ways, they're plucked instrument, they actually have a historical kind of, they come from kind of almost the same family. So can you talk about how you two came together to do this project and to perform as this duo, this dynamic duo? And not only that, can you talk about how you have to blend your two ancient musical traditions together and to create something new.
Yeah, that's the most important for me. Improvisation is not about you play yourself, you and he play himself. We're on the same stage. It's not called blend. It's how you collaborate. As actually I invited him to be my coach 2 years ago. 3 years ago for my global music ensemble. Before he left, I say, hey, you're amazing musician. And I said, I would love to, let's have fun, just for fun. So we went to a studio, and we never ever even talk about which key, what mood, nothing. So we just went to the studio, here camera, because we wanted to make sure, just put a camera on so we know if we have the possibility for the future collaboration. So we rolling with the studio. Then for the whole afternoon from 1 to 4 and 6 to 8, here we have our first CD. Everything is come up from only listening. I don't know if he will play which key, minor or major, mukam, nothing. I just listen. Then he will listen to me. We feedback to each other. Like I said, improvisation is the most important, to listen to others. So I'm very, very happy as I took the one, his mukam, to ingredient to, implement it to my pipa, to use my pipa techniques, my left hand, the quarter tone. We have a phrase, so it's impossible to play quarter tone for Arabic maqam. So what I do, I use my Pudong style for bend to do exactly the quarter tone to meet his. So basically, I don't want to play my pipa like a guitar, or I don't want to play when I play blues, I don't want to be a blues guitar. When I play jazz, I don't want to be a blues jazz. When I play with Syrian, I don't want to be 100% Arabic, because if you do that, they don't need me. They can't find anybody to play blues guitar better than me, or blues guitar, jazz. For me, the only reason I'm contributing here is the cross-cultural point, is to use the style of their music, but create into Chinese music. So use your techniques to show off. I always wanted to let people know, when you improv, please don't lose your identity. If you lose your own identity, they don't need you, because you cannot competing with other people like that. But if you can show your identity, but also take the best, you don't have it. So it's like a Chinese music doesn't have that kind of a quarter tone. When you play with India, they have a more complex rhythm. We don't have it, but we have a beautiful melody, so we can take the melody as your string to over that and take what you don't have. So that's how I try to blend the culture with my playing. So I forgot to tell you a true story. It's very interesting. My first ever collaboration with an Indian sitar, who's Ravi Shankar's best student. He lived with Ravi Shankar for 15 years, Shubhandra Rao. So he saw my pipa. He said, wow, we are so similar. But for 2 days, we couldn't make a song at all, because we couldn't find any common ground. How could we couldn't common ground? Because the third day, I finally realized he toned as a G sharp. I'm on A. Of course, doesn't work. And plus, they don't read. I have to listen. So end up, I retone my pipa, write down his raga. Then here in 2 hours, we have this called the morning song. Then guess what? Two master. One is Ravi Shankar from at the time he was in California, called Shubhandra in the middle of the night, saying, I just saw you played with the Pipa player Gao Hong. That was the most amazing collaborate and I ever heard. Then that Shubhandra called me right away, said that was the most amazing comment. Then I was worried about it, because I don't know if my teacher Lin Shicheng would accept me to play with other cultures. So I quietly, shyly, and scared, kind of like say, here is my Pipa with the sitar CD. I went back to China. My teacher usually don't praise or say, "Oh, you're wonderful." He's very introvert, very shy, or very firm person. If he say, "Ha ha ha ha," you know that means he's happy about it. So after he played, I was so nervous. I was worried and worried. Suddenly he said, "Ha ha ha ha." 你把中国音乐推向了西方，太好了。So you just brought Pipa into the West world, blended it so well. It's great. See, we both got the two biggest master in the world from India, from China to positively say, confirmed this collaboration is doable. So that really helped me continue.
Yeah, because you bring the best, and you kind of give and take. You then you create something new. This is just amazing story. Absolutely, because I have thought about. I've watched some of your performances with orchestras because of my background. So and I was just thinking, wow, the challenges of tuning, our Western history, we talk about the tuning, the 12th tone and the tuning, and for you to be able to kind of go between, because the pipa you're able to blend your pitch, and it was just amazing. That just create this amazing new sound and harmony. It's just fantastic. Lovely. Thank you so much. And I would like to talk about your second CD, because so in 2020 you released your second CD with Isam.
April 24, because of coronavirus, we had no release. Nobody even know it existed yet.
Oh, so it's titled "From Our World to Yours." So it won some awards in UK, and what I would like to, release the second CD with the same artist. It is just that much more difficult. So I just would love you to talk about your second time come together. So how do you elevate? What's your inspiration, you two, and what do you want to communicate the second time?
Yeah, a beautiful question again, and it is, and we did very lucky. We got a global music award, the best new CD and the best album, best instrumental. The reason we want to do a second, because we realized the first one we never met. I mean, we never played. We just did it from your heart. So the second one we wanted to make more connection and more colorful. Since we know each other for 2 years, and I know more about the Mukam, and he knows more about the Pipa, and our music, we want to build up more new songs. So if you hear the second CD, it's not the first one. It's more like we describe the future, like the space, the robot. Then the future will soar. You don't know what your future is. So when we try to the second one, we wanted to more deep connection, and also discover how these two loops can blending better sound, better techniques. So we both develop new techniques in order us to have a second level. So we were very happy, because we do everything from our heart. And then we even ask the audience, hey, come to give us a title. We just do that. So for us, after 2 years, it's not about just you play, I listen. It's how we understand each other, how we get more sound, colorful, rich. Yeah.
So can I understand if your first CD was about exploration, and
Yes.
how to, the second one is kind of the mature of going into the future and to create kind of future of those two instruments come together.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to hearing that. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. And I just, before we close, I just want to before, we talk about your work, building cultural bridge through music. Before we close today, I would like see if you have any advice for young musicians out there. It doesn't matter if it's Chinese, American, or Syrian. Any young musicians are trying to do this kind of project, to trying to foster the multicultural music projects. What are some kind of advice and some wisdom, since you have done this? And
Thank you so much. I think whoever in the audience today you listen, if you're a musician, please do not to hesitate to try, because you have been play your music is by a note. If you can play other people's mind, other people's music, yes, you can play your own music. So you just not too scared, because I never know how to improv. And they put me at a Walk Arts Center. Everybody stopped. Then it's my solo. Oh no, it's my solo. So I just made up on the stage and I fall in love with this cross-cultural music collaboration. So if you're out there, first of all, listen variety of music. So trying to gain your knowledge of rhythm, music, skill, whatever you can think about it to help you to make this better. Then also listen to what you can do. Start with a simple melody. Here, let's try something today. Very happy. What you would do? So trying to start a short paragraph or a short phrase. Kind of like a talk about it, think about it. Then other things most important for improvisation or collaborate, need respect other culture, to learn there deeply how the skill, how the music mood, and how their culture. Like example, I played with speaking in tongues from Ghana, Africa. One is from Mexico, guitar. I'm from China. There is other one is American, Mark Anderson. Guess what? We played for 2 years. We're so happy, play. Suddenly, we went to a studio. I said, let's play the downbeat. Then everybody supposed to be dun dun da dee da dee da da da. Suddenly they dun. So they started pick up dun. I said, what? So I realized because for the other for African music, you don't want to go downbeat because that's elementary. So they want to pick up. So that's how the different culture you could be experienced. So many joke about that. We don't know what we did, but music still work. But if you understand their culture, their music, special characters, then that will help you. So learning from masters, learning from others. That's the reason I love to collaborate. It's because I can learn from other masters. That's the most rewarding for me.
thank you so much for your wisdom, and thank you. And I also want to thank you today for joining us for our, so I encourage you to check out Gao Hong's website or for more information about Pipa and her work. So I see that we have some wonderful questions come in. So I think I'm gonna leave some time for some questions. So could you please high in and send in some questions?
You can.
Okay, let's see.
All right. There's a question from Lydia Huang. There's time. I'm wondering if Gao Laoshi could explain how you plug the pipa in different ways to either play a lyrical, gentle one sound versus a more rhythmic or strong wu sound. Thank you.
Okay, so if I want to do a very quiet sound, say like a moonlight. So you see, a lot of left hand. It's more like an emotional involved with your scenery or emotional thing. So a lot of left hand. That's why the Pudong style, the Wen style is such amazing musical techniques, especially for the Pudong style for music. Then when you play Wu style, then you have to do a so that's the drum. Dun, 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 dun. So you see the Wen style is more like a describe the scenery motion. Then Wu style is more telling story. So the Pudong style have a most interesting example, the ambush. I will just play. Pudong style is actually is the person who describe the happen right now from Paula. Right? But then sometimes we have a different style. Sometimes they will tell the story through third person, like they will be a instead of a da-dang, dang. So it's all different kind of style of music. One style is a scenery, Wu style is a storytelling. A lot of stories. I have one called mother-in-law argue with a daughter-in-law. Literally, you can hear people talking. So 两个人吵架, so they argue. Okay, let's not to argue each other. So that's how the people will do.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Here's another question. This person said, I'm wondering if Gao Laoshi can speak to any other colleges or universities in the USA besides Carleton College that offer courses or music programs in Chinese instruments and music.
Yeah, of course. I do a lot of guest lecture. Actually, I'm a guest professor at Central Conservatory, China Conservatory, Tianjin Conservatory, and also I do a lot of residency for K to 12. And I go. So I supposed to go to Nashville. March for one of the Belmont schools. So I do a lot of visiting if anybody interested. My passion is the more people know about Chinese music and more people learn about it, that's helped me 水涨船高. So when everybody know how to do it, and the Chinese music will have such a wonderful, it's not just music, it's understand the culture through music. That's my goal.
Thank you. I'll be glad to put you in contact.
Thank you.
Here's another one. Gao Laoshi, could you please explain the difference between the Chinese rhythm and the Arabic rhythm? Thank you. But that's an interesting one.
Okay, it's not about rhythm. Rhythm everybody can do a lot, but only is the mukam, the style is more different. Example, I'm going to Arabic, a lot of like a 这个 C, see the difference if I do a, it's very bland, but if I make this little higher, the quarter tone, then your flavor. See, that little example. I'm doing a raga like the Indian. There when I'm going to do a very quick. So that's Indian, but I do exactly Chinese play. Listen. Exactly same melody. The 咖喱味就出来了 curry. So that's,
yes.
yeah, not many people know how difficult the pipa can be because they have frets, but you have to just that slightly. Sometimes me and the Isam will have this conflict. I say, oh, I'm too high or too low. That was really difficult. So for Arabic, to play with people on Arabic is really difficult. So pay a lot of attention on your left hand to try to bend them to make them more fit for each other. Yeah.
That's great. Well, let's have our last question today. This person is asking, what do you like about jazz and blues most?
Oh, I love that question. Great question.
I love jazz, I love blues, but blues is kind of really from my heart. I feel like it's like a Chinese music for me because they have a lot of, you know, the so they always kind of, last time I played the Dance of the Yi, people thought that was blues. So somebody said, hey, that's blues. So a lot of that. For jazz, I like the jazz because it's free express your feelings. So, and the Chinese people, Chinese music don't have it. So what I like the most is because they're different. They're fresh. That's the reason I like to play jazz.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll give it back to Qiuxia now.
Thank you so much. You know, exactly. It's, you know, we talk about the universal language of music. It's really, it's the feeling and the storytelling and to express. So thank you so much, Professor Gao, for today. And thank you all for joining us for our cultures webinar, and I hope you will continue to support our programming at the China Center and follow us on Facebook, check our website, and we will be producing more of this series as we go on. And then now I would like to introduce Meredith McCrae, our Associate Vice President and Dean of International Programs for the University of Minnesota, for our closing remarks. Thank you.
Hello, sure. Thank you so much for an amazing hour. First, let me thank Qiuxia for leading a wonderful conversation. I really felt like we were all in your living room with you, and I'm so grateful. Great provocative questions, wonderful answers, and just enough music for us to want more. I predict there will be a run on the Pipa instrument across the United States after today's webinar. You make it look easy, but you actually just brought so much joy to people. You know, so much of what we're talking about now on these webinars is about COVID and about relationships between China and the US. And there's so many reasons to be unhappy these days and to want something better. But music really can bring all of us joy. You know, I've heard it said that music is to the soul what words are to the mind. And you have brought a lot of joy to our souls today. I'm incredibly grateful. We're lucky to have you. Thank you to your wonderful student, another awe-inspiring individual. So really, Gao Hong, thank you so much. And thank you for all you do to make the world a much better place.
Thank you so much for having me and have such a great support throughout the years, and I really appreciate so much. Actually, I talked to Haiyan earlier because I have a 2 CD come out this year. One is in April, the other one in September. One is with my teacher. It's absolutely the best the biggest honor for me. So I told Haiyan maybe I can give everybody who come today as a special promo price. It will be
wow.
yeah.
Thank you, Gao Laoshi, and thank you for your music. And we'll see you all next time. Join us next time.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care and stay healthy.
Bye. Bye.